This is still weird. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a brand new episode of On It. I am back. You got me today, just me, and I know, just like last time, it's what are we doing here? Why is it just you? Where's the funny one? I got it. I know. Devin couldn't make it today, and that's okay. He'll be back on Tuesday's episode to talk about all of Week 8's game outcomes, talk some NBA, predict some MVPs, some DPOYs, some Rookie of the Year awards. But today, I will be predicting Week 8's games, talking about Thursday Night Football with the Rams and the Vikings. Talk some NBA, definitely some hot takes for the NBA tip-off. But we got to start with Week 8 football, NFL football. Week 8, we're already just about halfway through the regular season, at least, which, I mean, we sat here and complained for months and months and months, and it almost felt like a full year of complaining for football to be back, and it's already halfway over. But starting with Week 8 predictions, we got Atlanta going up against Tampa Bay in their rematch after playing, what did they play, two or 3 weeks ago? They played against each other in their Thursday Night Football game. Now, here's the problem. We got to see Tampa and Atlanta definitely a lot more healthy, especially for Tampa Bay's point of view. But they're going in this game with no Mike Evans, no Chris Godwin. They're kind of in a pretty bad situation as of right now. I do kind of feel bad as a Ravens fan, with the whole tackle at the end of the game on Chris Godwin that wasn't really necessary to even have him in at that point. Obviously, Mike Evans pushed the limit to see what he could do with his hamstring, but now that kind of caused a worse injury for him. I got to go with Atlanta. I mean, healthy, I would say Tampa is coming back with full revenge in Tampa, especially after that overtime loss. But as of right now, I mean, Chris Godwin, we don't know when or if he will return this season. Mike Evans, obviously, I believe I saw 3 weeks for Mike Evans was the projection, but coming back on a hamstring, you never really know, I guess, until you're out there, how that hamstring's going to hold up. So it'll definitely take a minute for, at this point, the Bucs' top receivers, Trey Palmer. So that's it's going to take a minute for Baker to probably get going again with the passing game. So give me Atlanta. Arizona versus Miami. Now, obviously, I'll give my prediction for this game, but the big conversation about this is Tua returning for this game after the Week 2 injury where he sustained another concussion, a bad head injury. Honestly, I never want to make fun of Tua when it comes to the injuries and everything, but I do see a lot of people questioning him and why he's playing still and why he decided to come back. And I mean, it's maybe I have a skewed point of view or a biased point of view. I mean, if I was in his position, growing up as a kid, that's something you wanted to do. I mean, the man went to the University of Alabama, won himself over as a freshman and on, and you can't really hold it against him for wanting to continue to play. It's something we haven't really seen before. The most similar, what's the most similar thing you could compare it to is maybe Luke Kuechly's end to his career. But this was obviously the how this has been handled from the jump. Something went wrong with how this was handled from the beginning. But now, after that Week 2 head injury, you're basically wondering what's going to happen if Tua gets touched ever again. I mean, when it comes to any impact on his head or to his head, period, whether he slides a little too hard and bumps his head, or he gets sacked and bumps his head, or where he just gets or he's scrambling in the pocket. Say Tua is scrambling in the pocket and runs into somebody's chest a similar way he does to DeMar Hamlin or did to DeMar Hamlin. Is that not just as risky? I'll also point out that he chose to not play with a guardian cap on, which a lot of people are clowning him for, but now, he did say it was a personal choice, but at the same time, he has spent the last 6 weeks discussing probably every possibility when it comes to him and future injuries to his head. Neuroscientists and all these different doctors, and I would assume that maybe like someone like me has been saying that a guardian cap might not be as helpful or resourceful as one may think they are. And it might have just been a cover-up for the NFL trying to make it seem like they care more for their players than they actually do, or they're trying to do something to help with head injuries. But it's obviously not preventing anything. And if they truly thought Tua would be safer with the guardian cap on, I think they would almost enforce it on him. I mean, just how we've never really seen an example like Tua before. We've never really seen something like that implemented in somebody's contract where you're enforced to wear a guardian cap. And the fact that that's not something that they're enforcing on him, I feel like it says a little bit more about what the guardian cap can actually prevent, but maybe that's just me. But with Tua being back to save Miami, I don't necessarily know if he's while it's obvious Miami has been terrible since he's been hurt, it's really hard to believe that they are making this monstrous step with the return of Tua. I think that they will. If the Jets continue to struggle, Tua returning, they got them beat. They got the Jets beat. A team like that beat. I don't know where that. How you'd feel about ranking them if that's their threshold, is they could beat the struggling Jets with Tua, but Arizona's a tricky game. This is a tricky game because if this was a team like Carolina, it's like, okay, starting quarterback returns for Miami, Tyreek gets one big play, a half, and they probably win this game, or Waddle, or who whatever fast weapon you want to pick on Miami's offense. Or on the flip side, if this was a team like Buffalo, Baltimore, Kansas City, you'd have to pick against Miami. This is a tricky team where Arizona's kind of in their own funk, I guess you could say. Which they didn't have much. They didn't have very high expectations going into the season, but I do think just the potential you can see in Arizona, especially in their offense, this is a tricky one. But I'm not gonna buy into the hype, but I'm gonna rent the hype. I'm gonna rent the hype for the weekend. I'm gonna rent the hype for the weekend for Tua's return for Miami, and pick Miami to beat the Arizona Cardinals. Next game, we got Baltimore versus Cleveland. Sadly, I have been waiting for the Jameis Winston debut at some point this season. No matter what team it was going to be for, we knew Jameis was going to be playing at some point. It is against Baltimore. Now, it's not like we have some crazy defense like we did last year. We obviously do have we do have our problems on the defensive side of the ball. But I don't think a returning Nick Chubb is gonna bother us. I don't think Jameis Winston has it in him to keep up with what the Baltimore's offense is going to be able to produce. Even with Marlon's absence, I do believe he's not going to play. He didn't practice all week. I'm going to assume he's I know he's listed as doubtful, so I would assume he's not going to be playing on Sunday. But I obviously still have to go with Baltimore. But if you are new, the Jameis Winston theory, he wins every other week. So if he loses this game versus Baltimore, luckily next week, Cleveland Browns expect the dub. Green Bay versus Jacksonville. I mean, come on, Green Bay. There's not really much to say about this game. Let's move on to something a little more interesting. Not Indianapolis versus Houston. That's not the interesting game to move on to, but it is a game that has to be played. So it's gonna happen. So we might as well pick. It's Houston. It's obvious. It's kind of same way with Green Bay versus Jacksonville. There should be no question in who the winner of this game is. Jets versus New England. The only team so far that the Jets have looked good against is the New England Patriots, which does not say a thing at all. It doesn't say anything. So I will expect nothing less than a 14-point win at the least. Jets will beat the Patriots, hopefully. Now, Philly versus Cincinnati. And I'm going to say this right now. There is no Baltimore bias with this. The beef with Cincinnati is like, it's been gone since high school. Philly, Cincinnati, both have had their own struggles. Both have had their own success in ways and how they've been able to win the games that they have won. Now, they've both beaten I saw that they have both beaten in the last 2 weeks the Browns and the Giants, which doesn't say much. And they didn't look great versus either team. Now, Philly did have a dominant win against Cleveland, if my memory does serve me correct. And then obviously Saquon carried against the Giants. Cincinnati had a pretty boring win against the Giants. I mean, even Jamar Chase said he wasn't happy with the way they won the game. So if you don't want to take it from me, take it from a Cincinnati Bengal, the best Cincinnati Bengal on the team. I don't know what Cincinnati. I don't know what they're gonna do. I don't know what they're. I know it's super cliche to sit here and go, are they going to be able to set up the run to get the pass game going with Jamar Chase? And it's easy to say, well, they're not a good rushing team, so no, they probably won't. But at the same time, I mean, they could have the greatest running back of all time in that backfield. And the way that Jamar Chase has played this year, his career, no matter what, you're going to anticipate Jamar Chase getting the ball. So I can't even really sit here and hide behind Cincinnati does run the ball poor. They do run the ball pretty poorly, and they will probably struggle to set up the pass game. But I don't know if that's going to be the case. Now Philly is a better defense compared to the last two defenses they have went up against, and then you have to throw in the fact that they have Saquon Barkley. If they do not have to put the game in Jalen Hurts' hands. This isn't. If Joe Burrow shows up and throws 5 of them things, this ain't some keep shootout. We're staying in this game. Philly ain't staying in this game. I don't see that happening. I do think that Saquon can carry this team to a win against Cincinnati. And I don't think Cincinnati is going to be able to stop him. Same way you're going to anticipate Jamar. The same way you're going to anticipate Jamar, you're going to have to anticipate Saquon. Even more so. So, give me Philly. I'm not too confident. If you can't tell, I'm not that confident in this pick, but you got to go with someone. So, give me the Eagles. Tennessee versus Detroit. So, we're kind of back to the gimmies. Obviously, Detroit should and will win this game, probably by 21 points at least. New Orleans versus the LA Chargers. I guess the question is, who is playing for the Saints? Will Derek Carr play on Sunday? Will Derek Carr play Week 8? That's the question. Derek Carr was unlikely, but don't allow Carr's injury designation to make you think hope is still alive. Okay, so Derek Carr ain't playing. Yeah, no. Yeah, I'm sorry. The Chargers are winning this game. Maybe some success with Alvin Kamara can keep them alive, but the Saints, especially with Rattler at quarterback, it's just not happening. No, it's not. Buffalo versus Seattle. Shit better not be close. I've been on Bills Mafia ass for a minute now. After their hot 3-0 start, they have not looked like anywhere near one of the best teams in the league compared to what some of these other teams have been putting up and doing. But they are still a top team. Even if they haven't looked or played like one the past few weeks, they should win this game by a large margin, and I would hope Buffalo does not win this game by a touchdown, 21-14. If it's that type of game, maybe that says more about Seattle, and I should die down the hate for Seattle, but I think all the hype for Seattle is smoke and mirrors. So this obviously isn't going to be some easy dub like Tennessee last week, but this should still be a pretty easy dub for Buffalo. Carolina versus Denver. I mean, is there a way to just cancel games? Like, just not have the game. I mean, because this game, like, in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't matter. They could throw the ball into the dirt for 4 hours or however long this game's gonna take, and it wouldn't matter. It could be all Hail Marys, and it wouldn't matter. It could be all punts. They just punt the ball back and forth. Whoever breaks the first punt return wins. Give me Denver. Bryce Young to return at QB1, I believe and hope. But yeah, give me Denver. Chicago versus Washington. I mean, it's pick 1 versus pick 2. Obviously, Jaden Daniels is still questionable? Question mark? Will Jaden Daniels play? Because now I do believe Jaden Daniels not returning last week was a little misleading because he didn't really have to come back into this game. So he will be questionable for this game against the Bears. So I'm gonna put it to you like this: if Jaden Daniels plays and is healthy, when I say that, I mean it's not the first time he gets hit, he's already squinting in pain. It's if he is healthy. Give me Washington. If he does not play, I know Marcus Mariota did his thing, but they're not going to beat Chicago. So with stipulations, give me Washington. We got Kansas City versus Vegas. All right, forget the game. The game, yeah, Kansas City. Obviously, Kansas City is winning this game, no question. Let's talk about DeAndre Hopkins. D-Hop gets traded to the Chiefs, and it is definitely going to change the game. And we could sit here and talk about how successful he's going to be and how great of an addition it is, and it is a great addition. I'm a big D-Hop fan. Obviously, I don't think anybody except Kansas City Chiefs fans are the biggest Kansas City Chiefs fans, but Kansas City definitely needed the addition at receiver. They definitely could have used, and it will be very helpful to have a receiver like DeAndre Hopkins on this team. But I will say, I am happy that they weren't able to get their hands on Devontae Adams, Amari Cooper, Cooper Kupp. I mean, there was a moment where they were even hinting at, Tyreek Hill returning to Kansas City Chiefs, and if they would have pulled off some shit like that, then there would have been serious problems. But it does seem like Patrick Mahomes does like his receivers a little more just quick and athletic. Obviously, we haven't gotten to see him with a guy like DeAndre Hopkins. And DeAndre Hopkins himself has came out and said, this is the first time in years he'll be playing meaningful football. So I do think we're going to see we'll see a D-Hop with a better mindset, better attitude, but it's still the same age and counting, the same injury problems that he has been dealing with in Arizona and Tennessee. So there will be a lot to look for. Obviously, there's no real negative to DeAndre Hopkins joining the Kansas City Chiefs. I mean, it's really a cheat code if you look at it, and especially if DeAndre Hopkins is fully healthy. So, I mean, we'll really have to see. If anything, I could see DeAndre Hopkins being more not as productive throughout the game or season, but being there when it matters, making the catches that are the most important, scoring, showing up when it matters the most, being the best red zone target they could have at this point, especially with Travis Kelce's struggles. I mean, and it's gonna open up the game for Travis, and you got Juju looking like a top receiver again. And here's the thing: a couple years ago, if you were looking at a receiving core with Travis Kelce, Juju Smith-Schuster, DeAndre Hopkins, people would have been calling it the best receiving core in the league. So, barring a couple injuries and a couple TikToks, this is a very good receiving core. But you know, it is what it is. You either gotta just accept that they're going to three-peat, or just hate. Or you could just do both. But if anything, D-Hop, they had to have something to solidify this three-peat. They couldn't walk in this game 17-0 without a top. I don't know where you'd put. I can't even put a number behind that top right now for DeAndre Hopkins. We'll see. Give him a couple weeks and then we'll see where DeAndre Hopkins still ranks in the league. But obviously, I'm taking Kansas City. Especially because we know Kansas City didn't forget that puppet, that Kermit the Frog shit. They're gonna make the Raiders pay for that shit. Dallas versus San Fran. Sadly, this game could have been a lot more hype, or could have been a lot more exciting. There could have been a lot more hype behind it. But obviously, you got the struggling Dallas Cowboys. You got the depleted San Francisco 49ers. On Sunday night, prime time. It's in San Fran. It is hard. It is hard to say who's going to win this game. But I'm starting to think, and this could be jumping to a crazy conclusion, or could be a crazy stretch, and I could be the only person thinking this, but I am going to put it out there. Should Brock Purdy be on the hot seat? Because I think there's a chance he may end up on the hot seat a couple weeks down the road, a couple games down the road. I think Brock Purdy, even with the success he has had with the 49ers, there has been a cloud. There has been a question around how well can he play if you take away the crazy amount of weapons he has around him. And one by one, it's been plucked. And now he's, down no McCaffrey, no Debo, no Ayuk. Honestly, you could say, what could a lot of quarterbacks do? But we saw what Purdy could do with them. What is Brock Purdy going to be able to do without them? I think it will be interesting. And I don't think San Francisco will hesitate to, next season, coming in with Christian McCaffrey hopefully healthy, Brandon Ayuk, Debo, George Kittle. Don't be surprised if they go shopping for a quarterback. If Brock Purdy takes a crazy dip, I would not be surprised if the San Francisco 49ers dipped into the quarterback market this next offseason, because they're still definitely in a win now type of mindset, and they have the team to win now. But this time next year, you have some injuries, you have some players go down. You might have a quarterback that's just a little bit better. You might have a quarterback that's just a little bit better than Brock Purdy that is able to get some of these harder games won. I haven't said much about Dallas because there's not much to say about Dallas, and I might regret not picking them for some odd reason. I don't know why I would regret not picking Dallas, but I think this is kind of the, renting the hype. I'm renting the hype for Tua. I'm going to rent the hype for Brock Purdy and see what he can do. We're really going to see what San Fran can produce with the lack of stars they are used to. And in the final game of the week, we got the Giants versus Steelers. And at this point, you can say there's no question that the Steelers are finishing with at least 9 wins because that's just all Mike Tomlin does. It's not all he does, but that's it. That's the least he will do. The Giants are definitely not beating the Steelers. There's absolutely no chance. Thursday night football. Now, I see a lot of people flipping on Minnesota, which, let me just say, let's relax. They lost a very, very close game against Detroit, who is a top team, has a quarterback that's in MVP conversations, might be the best team in the league right now, one of the best teams in the league right now. And they lose this game against the Rams, and I know that I have been questioning the Rams and have said they might be screwed. They might be in a bad situation, but you obviously see the night and day difference in the Rams when Puka and Cooper are on the field. I mean, Matt Stafford. It's like he didn't even blink. It's like he didn't miss a step. Or it's like the receivers. It's the Rams. Luckily, their problem was just being healthy, and now that they are healthy, this offense is and can be very dangerous. But let's talk about the obvious. Now, could this game have still been won by the Rams? Yeah. I mean, the Vikings had the ball at the end of the game, had to go down and put up 8 points. This could have been a situation where that face mask was called. And they still don't go down the field and score 8 points. But Sam Darnold does get his face almost ripped off, his neck almost snapped in his own end zone, gets sacked, and the Rams get the safety. And we're at the point where the NFL is never going to make the NFL referees take accountability. Or, a lot of people say, why don't the refs have to answer to media? Why don't they get interviewed? Why don't they get fined and all this? And, it's kind of a weird situation where it's you got, I don't know, it's like you got jobs that are performance based, and then you got jobs where you just gotta show up. Like at this point, being an NFL ref, it's like being a McDonald's employee, and I'm not. No disrespect to McDonald's employees. This is all disrespect to NFL referees, because there's no expectation out of you teenagers running McDonald's. But these NFL referees who are calling every single shots and have already ruined way too many games this season with their blindness. And it's only week 8. We're only going into week 8. And they have made bad call after bad call or missed call after missed call. But what can you do? What can you really do right now? In the off season, they can vote in face masks being reviewed or being a reviewable play. And I think at this point, New York has to be able to step in whenever they want. They don't have to make a call every single play. The whole, well, if they called every hold, then there'd be a holding call every play. They don't have to step in that way. But if they need to, or if they feel like they want to step in, they should fully be allowed to step in no matter what the play is, no matter what the call is. They should be able to step in and make the final decision, because they just make too many mistakes. And I know it's sad to say that the refs need to be pretty much babied throughout the season, but that's just what we're dealing with. It's almost like we're at a point where even the referees don't really give a shit. They call things when they see it, when they decide to pay attention, and when it's a game-winning drive. You would think that all referees have their eyes on, not all, but there's at least one referee with their eyes on that quarterback and that ball, who's getting his head turned completely around looking at the back judge, and no flag is called as the defender runs away with his hands on his head because he knew what he did and anticipated a flag. That was never thrown. If anything, it just goes to show that the NFL doesn't really care. They come out, whatever they say they care about, they don't. Because this was way more of a close call to an injury in my eyes. I feel like, they made all these moves for hip drop tackles and head injuries to be prevented, and it hasn't really panned out. And they completely neglected how poor the officiating of these games are. They've completely neglected how poor these refs have officiated these games, and it's showing. It's showing that the changes they made, what the NFL gave most of their attention to last offseason, obviously was a waste of time. And hopefully next offseason, they spend a lot of time getting this officiating sorted out, because it is terrible. These refs suck. And because I'm not in the NFL, I won't be fined for saying that, which is another crazy thing. It's freedom of speech until you're an NFL player talking about a shitty referee. Let's talk some NBA. NBA season is here. The NFL tipped off last Tuesday, and I got some hot takes. So I'm going to just go down the list and let me spit these out to y'all and see how y'all feel. First game was Boston going up against the Knicks, and I will say Cat does not look right in a Knicks uniform. And maybe that's because every superstar that ever gets talked about in like free agency or trade rumors gets photoshopped in a Knicks jersey, but it never actually happens. So now that we actually see like a superstar in a Knicks jersey, it's weird. A non-homegrown Knicks superstar, it's weird. But Boston is back. They're still here. They're still on fire. I know there's a lot of Tatum haters, a lot of Celtic haters, a lot of Boston haters, but I'm not one of them. I just want to see good basketball played. I just want to see them ball. That's all I want to see. And there seems to be no question about Boston's legitimacy, and their chances of going back to back, I'd say, are still pretty high. The Lakers. Now, I was gonna go into this saying depth-wise, they may have an issue, and I still do think that, especially with the guard situation they have. But when it comes to the versatility they have with their bigs, they're going to be a defensive problem. They're going to be a defensive menace of a basketball team. I mean, with AD, Hayes, Hachimura, and LeBron, I mean the defense has already looked. You in the two games so far, you can already see what this team is going to be able to do on the defensive side, and it's going to be scary. And Julius Randle, I'm gonna just say this now because we didn't talk much about it when he got traded to the Timberwolves. Maybe because more of the conversation was about Cat and his or just why Minnesota would get rid of him. But Julius Randle is not filling Cat's role at all. There's going to be absolutely zero chance of that happening. I think it was already showing. I think, yes, if you don't have a dominant big on the defensive side of the ball, Julius Randle can cook. Julius Randle will be able to do his thing. But as soon as they run into, a Denver, an OKC, San Antonio, I mean, sure, you got Rudy, but what is Julius Randle really gonna do? What is he really gonna have to offer? Nothing even close to what they had with Cat. And obviously we're 2 games into the season, but we gotta have these hot takes, and this is just what I'm feeling. This is what I'm seeing. I don't know how smart of a move this Cat trade really was for Minnesota. I'm still not a fan of it going into the beginning of this season. While it's still relevant, I do want to discuss inside the NBA's top 50. Chuck, Kenny, and Shaq gave their top 50 players going into the NBA season, and I am very interested in seeing who they have ranked where, and I see that they have the 3 lists, and then they have a combined list. So I'm going to take a look at the combined ranking and just see, what they had as an average. We're going to go down to 1 and obviously start there, and I have a pretty good idea of who they have at number 1. They have Nikola Jokic, Shaq and Charles both had him at 1, and Kenny had him at 3. So Jokic at 1, I'm not going to argue with. Let's just look at the top 5. So Jokic at 1, Giannis at 2, Luka at 3, Joel at 4, and LeBron at 5. Okay, so I can't argue Jokic at 1. I can't. I as a basketball fan, as someone who wants to see the most exciting basketball played, no, he's not number 1. But I mean, you're almost just naive to the success that him and the Denver Nuggets have had. It's just you can't really argue it. What you also can't really argue is, until proven otherwise, it's really hard to not still put LeBron James up there. And like I just said, until proven otherwise, LeBron James is still the best NBA player in the world. I'm sorry, but when you're 40 years old and you're still doing what he's able to do, it's otherworldly, and yeah, it's better than what Jokic has been able to offer. I'm sorry. Now Giannis, and like I said, this is really on the entertaining side of bias. My bias really leans towards how entertaining these players are to watch. So maybe I will just get Jokic out of the way and say, all right, put him at 2. Boom, I put him at 2. And then after that, we're looking at players like Giannis. We're looking at Luka. We're looking at Joel. Out of those 3, I would have to go with Luka, and then go Joel, and then probably go Giannis at 5. And then they have 6, Steph Curry, 7, Shai, 8, they have Kevin Durant, 9, they got Jaylen Brown, and 10, Jason Tatum. All right, so let's go back down to that top 5, and we are going to switch it up a little bit. So I'm going to tell y'all this right now. Fuck entertainment. Fuck the success that one has been able to bring to the team. Jokic, Joel, Giannis, Steph, Shai, they're not touching Kevin Durant. I sat here for these first couple minutes trying to bite the bullet and just say, all right, yep, Jokic is up there, but I'm not doing it. I'm sorry. I'm over this big hype. I'm over this boring, slow, just these dominant bigs being considered the best players in the league when they're not. When it comes to talent, they're not. So give me Kevin Durant over all of these players, and then you can give me a mix of Giannis, Joel, and Jokic. Because when it comes to athleticism and versatility, I'm taking Giannis out of that three. And then I will still put Steph over Shai, even though you can flip a coin with them. And let's be real. I don't care how much you hate Tatum. I don't care how anti-Tatum you are. He's still better than Jaylen Brown. I'm sorry. He's still better than Jaylen Brown. So you got to put the man over Jaylen Brown. You got to put Jason Tatum over Jaylen Brown. They can both be top 10 if you want to. Now, it might be a little questionable when you get to some of these other players, because could you consider Anthony Davis being better than Jaylen? Could you consider Anthony Davis being better than Jaylen Brown? I could. Anthony Edwards? No. Like, I might have to bump Jaylen Brown to 11, take AD from 12, put him at 10. So I'll go AD at 10, I'll go JB at 11, and then Ant at 12. But then that means Ant's going over Devin Booker, which I cannot do. I can't put Ant over Devin Booker. Number 14, they got Jalen Brunson. So I'm going to tell y'all all the players I'm putting over Jalen Brunson. Putting John Morant over Jalen Brunson, who is at 16. I'm probably taking Paulo, who they have at 17, over Jalen Brunson. I'm 1,000% taking Kyrie at 18 over Brunson. 19, they got Vic. That's very interesting. Right now, I'm probably taking him over Jalen Brunson. Paul George. See, now that's when you start. Now that's where you start to put Jalen Brunson at. Like, that's where you put him at. You start to put him at conversations with 32-year-old, 34-year-old Paul George. Those are the conversations we're having. Would you rather have Jalen Brunson or Paul George? And maybe I'm a hater. Maybe I'm a hater, but that's just how I'm feeling. So is that top 20 valid? There's a couple changes I would make. Obviously, I talked about my top 5 to 10. I think Ja will be able to shoot up. Bam at 15. Now, I can't be biased and just shit on Jalen Brunson. But I'm not putting Bam before Ja. I'm not putting Bam before Kyrie. I'm not putting Bam over Paul George. There's a couple players I'm putting before Bam. They got Jimmy Butler at 21. They got Dame Lillard at 22. There's 21 players better than Damian Lillard. There's 21 players in the NBA better than Damian Lillard. I'm sorry. No. That's not a thing. That's not a thing at all. That is absolutely not a thing at all. If you want to take your top 10, I mean, fuck, bro. Dame healthy. What are we really talking about right now? It's still at least top 15. There are not 21 players better than Damian Lillard. I gotta disagree with that one. Donovan Mitchell at 23. Again, I don't really know what we're doing with this. There's a lot of hype. There's a lot of hype into these guys early. I know we all love Ant, but I mean, it's hard for me to see their reasoning in Ja Morant still being ranked this high. Just for them to put players like Donovan Mitchell at 23, Damian at 22. Why is Ja Morant so high at 16? Because I'm okay with Ja Morant being at 16. I'm okay with him being even higher. But then you look back and go, all right, but then you got Dame, and then even lower than that, you got Donovan Mitchell, and even lower than that, you have, all right, so now we're looking at like Cat at 27, but Tyrese at 25, Sabonis at 26, Cat at 27, Drew Holiday at 28, Tyrese Maxey at 29. Oh boy! All right, so Drew Holiday at 28. I got a lot of love for Tyrese, so I'm probably bumping him a little bit higher. But him being number 29, I'm not too mad at. Get Kawhi out of here. I'm sorry, Kawhi Leonard does not deserve to be a top 50 player in the NBA until proven otherwise. The man don't play. The man has completely finessed the NBA. And the LA Clippers. So shout out to him for being the best finesser in NBA history. But no, he ain't 30. When healthy, we can have that conversation if that's ever a true thing again. If that's ever a thing again, because we say when healthy a lot, and it usually happens. Players usually get healthy, and then they're back to themselves or what they can be when they're healthy. That ain't the case for Kawhi Leonard. So until further notice, I'm not even having that conversation about Kawhi. 31 Julius Randle, 32 Jamal Murray, 33 Pascal, 34 Scotty Barnes. All right. Scotty Barnes over Trae Young, over Lauri Markkanen, over James Harden, over Kristaps, over DeMar DeRozan, over Bradley Beal, over Brandon Ingram. I don't know. There's some questions to this. There's some questions to this list because they got Zion at 36. And, just be real. Be real. From what we have been able to see, Lauri Markkanen, James Harden, Kristaps, DeMar, Bradley Beal, Aaron Gordon, B.I., Tyler Hero, Chet, Sengun, Evan Mobley. All them players ranked lower than Zion are better players than Zion right now. He's in a worse situation than Kawhi right now when it comes to players that don't even deserve to be on this list. But it definitely gets a little shaky at this from 21 to 50. Maybe I think a couple players deserve to at least be in the conversation, and they are close to that top 20, like Donovan Mitchell and Dame, but there's still a lot. Vic at 19, already calling him a top 20 player is a lot, and then Paolo at 17. Paulo over Kyrie, Ja over Kyrie right now. It just doesn't really make sense. I don't see it. It doesn't make sense right now. So it'll be interesting to see. It'll be interesting to see what this list, how this list looks a few months from now. In January and February, All-Star break, let's say. How accurate this list truly is, because I think there's going to be a couple changes that are going to be almost obvious to be made. There's going to be some moves that are going to be a little too obvious. But I guess Jokic is the best player in the NBA. I guess that's just what it is. With all that being said, we talked about Thursday Night Football. We talked about the NBA season kicking off or tipping off or starting or however you want to word it. We predicted every single Week 8 game. We talked Dhop joining the Chiefs. We talked Tua returning to Miami. With all that being said, hopefully you enjoyed this episode of On It. We will be back on Tuesday to go over all of Week 8's games, predict Thursday Night Football Week 9, talk some MVP votes, give out some MVP votes, maybe talk some fantasy football, some college football, some more NBA. Brand new episodes every Tuesday and Saturday. We'll be back on Tuesday. It has been me. It has been real. I am out.